The Gilkman, or Defender, the first knight of heart and sword, an origin story. The young man was angry. You wake me up to this? He asked. And just what idiocy have you dressed me in? I need my armor. Boy, the old man said, his forehead creased in weariness. It is time. He shook his head sadly. It wasn't my choice. A world full of wonders, machines that move, things that communicate all over the world. A world larger than one I could ever know. And the people subjugated and oppressed by the very thing that they made to add value to their existence. The young man was disgusted. They've chosen merchants to rule them. A king must rule with honor, and when that honor fails, be held to account. They've chosen leaders who sell their honor. What dark philosophy has corrupted the world, my friend? The old man nodded. At least the whole world doesn't smell like shite no more. Indeed, every village farmstead or hold during the rise and fall of Camelot smelled like animal and human waste. Something the old man could get used to, but others he could not. No, the way mankind treats one another is shite. So what now? The young man asked the older. We must go to the new world, the wizened man said. There's a young man there. He will be the light. A hero? Like the others? My friends? My knights? Arthur asked. Better, Merlin said, laying a hand on his king's shoulder. A man with great heart. He paused. Imagine Galahad, but greater, even. The young king, newly wakened to return to an alien world, chuckled. If that were true, he looked around. In this world, he must have problems, almost incapacitated. I've noticed this world doesn't treat the pure of heart well. This young man has power. The greatest power and the most necessary one in this new age, Merlin nodded. He just needs to be shown, not instructed, that he is needed. That the power of the heart is needed. His is the most potent one could find. Arthur stood. I feel naked without a sword. He glanced at the stone table with a gleaming hilt protruding. This young man will be Excalibur unto himself. Thomas was just leaving the house. He was anxious. He was always anxious about work. As with everything, there were great days and not so great days. Turning, he saw something very confusing. An old white man with a long beard dressed in a sharp British suit, and a younger man, big and burly, dressed in a Red Sox jersey and board shorts of all things. Are you young Thomas? The old man asked. Thomas began. Maybe? The old man looked around as if he were about to do something that he didn't want anyone to see. This made Thomas even more nervous. The wizened old man waved a hand at Thomas' door and asked, I assure you that we mean you no harm. We would like to just talk. May we go through your door? Thomas was confused about the way the question was framed. Are you asking to go inside? Because I have to get to work. Wine doesn't sell himself. The younger man brightened, a great smile becoming visible upon his hairy face. You're a wine merchant? The old man chuckled. If you wish, young Thomas. Thomas made his decision. Look, who are you? I don't invite people in my home that I don't know. I have something of a gift for you. And I never asked to go inside your home, just through your door. The old man told him. You won't be disappointed, the younger man said in a gruff yet oddly commanding voice. Thomas wanted to do what he asked, not out of any sense of coercion or anything, but he had an inherent trust. that came from his gut for the man. Without even thinking about it, Thomas turned, unlocked, and opened his door. What was behind it, however, was not the entryway he normally saw. The scene behind the door was a bright space made of gleaming crystal. In fact, young man, I'm asking you to enter my home, the old man said in his crisp and old-time accent. Thomas didn't get a chance to understand what was happening when the younger man stepped forward and pulled Thomas through the doorway, followed by the older man who closed the door behind him. Wait just one damn minute, Thomas said, feeling the anger rise in his chest. Just who the hell? He stopped, seeing the smooth bier and the sword hilt protruding from its center as if the sword had been thrust and buried to its hilt into the table itself. I am Emery's Malenus Pendrag, and this is... He was interrupted by the younger man who was changing his clothes into something more, well, leathery. And I'm Arthur Pendrag, once and future king of all England, though that no longer sounds as impressive as it once did, he said. Thomas didn't know what to think. I thought it was Pendragon. And where are we? This is called the Crystal Cave on the Isle of Avalon. And the sounds of things like names change over time. Plus, they always want to link dragons to things. Why? Why what? Arthur asked. Link dragons to things? 'Cause they're big brutish beasts. No, why have you brought me here? Then he had a thought. And you're going to make me late for work. He felt his anxiety rising. Because, my young friend, the old man said, you're needed. Yes, the young, once and future king added, darkness has many faces, but that darkness cannot withstand the light. Your light, Thomas Gilkman, that resides in your heart. Thomas couldn't say a word before he found himself in front of the store where he worked. It was from one moment to the next. The young man had just told him that he had light in his heart, and boom, there he was. How? He started, but realized he was alone. And it was dark outside. Shit. Gonna be late. Looking down, he spotted a small version of Excalibur hanging from a leather thong about his neck. As he held it, he heard a scream from off to his left. Running to the alley next to the liquor store, he found a young lady surrounded by men in hoodies with guns. Hey, he said, before he could even think. His anxiety was nowhere to even be found. What are you doing? This whole situation just surprised Thomas more than anything. We're robbing her, you dolt, one of the men said, though Thomas couldn't see his face. Please, the young woman, who could have been no more than in her late 20s, pleaded, her eyes filled with fright. Power surged through Thomas' fist. He looked down to find that he'd ripped the replica of Excalibur from his neck and held it clenched in his right fist. The power traveled at once instantly and aggressively, taking him over. He found a long, slender blade, one that felt a part of him, in his fist where the replica was once clenched. The hand that clenched the beautiful blade appeared to be gloved, as was the arm attached. Without thinking, he moved forward into the light. What the fuck you supposed to be? Another of the hooded men asked. Justice. The voice that came from Thomas's throat startled even him in its booming bass. Retribution, he continued. I am Defender, Knight of the Hall. It wasn't the name he'd have picked, but it would do for now. Gunfire erupted, but Thomas felt nothing, the lead bouncing off the armor as if it was armor he now wore. As he stepped forward, the sword began to glow in a white, faint light. I give you the chance to yield. Lay down your arms and run, Thomas found himself saying. He nodded to himself. This was the way, yeah. Try to avoid violence. Try not to hurt anyone. Be the best part of myself. One of the men moved forward. I won't miss a second time, he said. Thomas reacted and moved his sword arm in a swift, almost unseeable movement. The glowing white blade cut the handgun in half, 2 pieces falling, smoking to the ground. The men fled, throwing their remaining weapons before him. This new hero, Defender, stood in the alley, watching the other end where the men had fled, contemplating everything that had just happened in just a few moments. Thank you, the small voice stuttered from the darkness. Thomas spun around, his sword held aloft. Oh, he said, his voice not sounding anything like his own. Anyone would have done the same, he said. The woman smirked and shook her head. Yeah, right. Nowadays, she looked up at him, fear no longer in her eyes, though something else. Her eyes, they froze him. She was so close, he could see what was reflected in them. And though he didn't wear armor, so to speak, but a form-fitting outfit that looked like a dull metal color, but moved with him as if it were a part of his body. A crest emblazoned across his chest consisting of a sword and shield imposed over a heart stood upon his chest. The cowl that covered his face even resembled a helm from a medieval knight, and the red cape that flapped in the non-existent wind said that he was not of this world. Defender? She asked. Thomas nodded, not knowing what to say. My name's Janice, she said. You want my number? Thomas had no idea what to do or say, but before he could do anything, or even accept the kind offer, he found himself once again in his apartment, in the entryway, in his own clothes, the necklace once again around his neck. Well, shit, he said to himself before going to figure out how not to lose his job. I hope you've enjoyed this story, Thomas. This was for you. Happy birthday, sir. I hope you have many, many more, and that we're around to celebrate each and every one with you. Good night.